That is a long
It
list.
is a very long list. Try down mute. Let's see if the audio controls work. There you go.
Okay. Volume up. That's awesome. I mean, no, the crime happening is not awesome.
Yeah, she's had the crabs.
Welcome to People Watch TV. This episode of The Modern Rogue is brought to you by Squarespace. Head on over to squarespace.com/rogue, spell it right, R-O-G-U-E. Give it a free try, get 10% off. This sounds, by all accounts, Deviant Olaf of Red Team Alliance, like the holy grail of hacking. Like when people have that annoying image of a Doctor Who sonic screwdriver and a hacker can get anywhere, this is apparently what they're thinking of.
It's really become that. A lot of professionals dismissed this as just a toy when it came out.
It's a pretty good toy.
We've been forced to admit it's a really freaking useful toy, man. We're talking about the Flipper Zero. People might have heard in the news that like certain nations were banning it, or police will look for it in your car, or at DEF CON, the big hacker conference, there were whole hotels that they were giving posters to the staff showing tools and say, if you spot one of these, they're hacking the casino, and the Flipper was on that poster of warning.
Meanwhile, what it actually is, first of all, it comes with no software on it. Second of all, it seems to be a blend between a tricorder and a broadcasting device, right?
It's a lot of devices sandwiched together in a fun package. So if someone works with radio hacking, you might have heard of someone using an SDR, or software-defined radio. They make really nice SDRs.
Yeah.
This is a cheap SDR. This is like a little cheap radio you can play with. There's really nice RFID. We did RFID hacking with the Proxmark.
Okay, yeah, so I guess we should talk about the various ways that devices can communicate with each other. Then we'll learn kind of what this does. I do notice that there's an infrared thing here. And I remember back in the days of, you remember the Palm Pilot? I was so disappointed that nobody had programmed a universal remote on that, but this has it.
Now you have that now.
Yeah, of course, any kind of radio thing means that it can do RFID, both programming and receiving?
It has some basic RFID hacking functions, not as good as the Proxmark, but good enough to do half or more what people want to do half the time.
How much do these cost? Let's get the plugs out early, because this is from our friends over at Hacker Warehouse, right?
Yeah, Hacker Warehouse, the official importer. Garrett's doing great work there. I think these come in $200 price range, let's say.
And the first thing that most people, everybody wants to believe that there's an easy button for hacking, and occasionally you do get something like Darren's Rubber Ducky. It really is. You could be a script kiddie and just download a script and you just plug it in and hack mojo, and then hacking happens, right?
And people have written modules for this now because it's so open source that it can kind of do that, like be a bad keyboard, where you can plug it in as USB and it'll pretend to be a keyboard. People are adding to this all the time. This actually has a board added on the top that doesn't come with it, but these are extra add-on pins, and people are constantly developing new circuitry because it's open source.
So it's a platform that is designed to be built upon. So let's get the disclaimer out of the way. When you buy this, because if it has any kind of software on it that could be used for nefarious purposes, then all of a sudden you're importing a weapon of types,
like a criminal tool, right?
Right. So you buy this and it comes totally unloaded, and then you go where?
Online to the communities. So the stock, I wouldn't say it's unloaded completely. It does have the ability to do basic RFID and some basic radio sniffing, but to do anything that would violate any norms and standards, they nerf that pretty hard.
Okay.
The stock firmware. But there are people writing whole new firmware for this. So you might have heard of Extreme Flipper, or there was one that was a package like Extreme is kind of gone, and now Momentum is coming out as a new version. All of these Unleashed Flipper, these are new firmwares that unlock all of those restricted features.
Yeah, disclaimer, 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 don't do anything you don't have permission to do, et cetera, et cetera. One of the ideas that I had is that this thing can listen and figure out kind of what is being transmitted on where. So in theory, this guy can basically just listen and say, what am I hearing loudest? Would you be able to hold it close to your mic and
let's
see if it...
Our mic packs are continuously transmitting.
Right.
Whereas this is really designed to see blips of data. So if something momentarily transmits...
Okay, well then maybe here, I'll take mine, I'll turn it all the way off, and then all the way on, and then all the way off, and you can tell me if you catch it.
Let's see. I can see frequency. What is your frequency?
54885.
Ooh, that's going to be outside of the range that this flipper can do. It's not, now, is that because this is a restricted band for communications that the FCC is regulating differently? I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Drew is my main RF guy for things of that nature, but we played with the studio lights earlier.
Yes,
right?
explain what was happening from the flipper's perspective, because you had me pull out the light remote.
The flipper and its functions are really meant not to listen in on someone's communication, but to snag tiny packets of data that various control systems might be emitting and receiving. So something like a garage door opener. That's one of the main reasons people think of this as a criminal tool. I could get in your garage and steal your empty buckets. If you use your garage remote and I'm near you, I can just see that happen and I can capture it.
Like when you have a luxury automobile, you hit it and it's basically recording, and you hit your garage door opener and then it plays it.
Same thing, it's learning your code.
Okay.
You can do that. We did that with the studio light controls where I said, look, lights on, lights off. We could record those, and then if you ever lost your studio remote, you don't need it. Why? Because you have your flipper. I can just replay that, it's all right here.
In theory, I am assuming somewhere out there somebody probably has a script of the blank most popular garage door. Yeah, it all exists. Please do nothing illegal.
The way we use this on break-ins, and I have seen teams do this, it's very effective. Nowadays, many doors are power assist operator doors, right? For handicap reasons.
Of course, yeah.
Those buttons that you see on the wall, they have wires, and you're like, well, it's wired into the door system. No,
That's
it's
what I
wired
assume.
for power.
But then it's a radio signal. It's basically a giant garage door opener button. I never thought of that.
So the interior button will just unlock and open the door.
Of course, nothing is guaranteed, but most likely it's going to be one of the frequencies that it can track, right?
It always has been in our experience, yes.
As soon as we got to the hotel, you pulled out your key and tested it, and apparently it's a newer key, but the older keys, are you able to full on duplicate hotel keys?
I did this at a hotel I was staying at a few weeks ago in San Francisco. If the key that is being used, now that's RFID, that's not, as we talked earlier, that's not broadcast radio, but...
Right, you could tell me if I'm still remembering correctly. It's basically, it has no power in and of itself, but when a field is near it, it gets enough juice to broadcast an encrypted number.
It wakes up the credential, and then that credential will actually, because it's getting power from the reader, it will modulate its power draw, and that modulated pulses of data, that's how it's talking to the reader. The flipper can do that too. It has an antenna coil for high and low frequency RFID, yes.
And on top of that, you could use the flipper to program the chip in your hand?
I can, and I have, yes.
If I turned on, heaven forbid, Apple Pay and put it on this, it would have my credit card?
Probably not.
Okay.
Now, we could play with it and see if it wakes up.
You know what, how about we don't? How about we just assume it can?
The great thing about mobile payments on smartphones is that they use a one-time token each time. So there's no real value in grabbing it and trying to replay it. But
the actual credit card has just a static chip on it.
No, credit cards work the same way.
Okay.
That's the mobile payments by EMVCo. They are all meant to be not replayable like that. That's a good point to mention. You know how many of your viewers write to me now at our company and they say, how do I capture the credit cards? And we're like, you did it in that video with those crazy guys in Texas.
Oh,
like, that's not what we did in that video at all.
It was not the how-to. That was magnetic, by the way.
So in hotels, I often used to travel with like a game system, and I would want to hook up to the TV. But the TV is, the remote is nerfed.
They give you the dummy remotes that don't actually allow you to access the system menus and what have you.
Yeah, but hospitality has special remotes. In fact, they have nicknames in the industry. My buddy Ray always used to talk about the Green Lantern remote. And he's like, your flipper's green. So I painted it. But yeah, there are people who have dumped the whole databases of these specialty remotes, and you can find them, and you don't have to go eBay for the remote. You can just load the database on your flipper, and then you can have the Green Lantern right there. And here, I want HDMI. I want the special channels. I want the diagnostic channels.
Okay, everybody's going to ask what this expansion board is. There is what looks like a SD card, but it's a bit beefier than I would expect.
Yes.
Can you share what this is?
Sure. This is the first generation of something that was called a NARD-SAM board. This isn't an SD card, it is actually a SIM card.
Of course.
So you can put SIM cards, not because I'm gonna make phone calls on my flipper, but secure memory elements are used by a number of vendors to hold their crypto keys.
Got it.
So this crypto keys pack here, this can allow me to interact with HID's latest generations of product. Because if I'm making a reader or something and I want it to be compatible with their flagship COS credential, HID isn't going to trust me with their keys.
Right.
They're going to say, you make a reader and then stick this in it.
Have a gizmo.
And then you can read our keys.
Essentially, this is a dongle.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Nard SAM board was a community project. We had them. Oh.
Nice.
We had them for a while. They have been replaced by what's called the Flippermeister,
Okay.
which does even more stuff. But again, it involves using manufacturers' secret keys.
That's
with
a
the
good
Flipper.
question. You bring up a good point. How long have these been around?
The Flipper itself?
Yeah.
Relatively new. Only a few years that it's really captured the market. But it wasn't around when we were with you last time. That's why you're seeing this all for the first time here.
Okay, let's play with it. Let's see if
do it a
see if
little
it
bit.
works. Is as close to actually undercover as we're gonna get.
Yes, we've already multiple people have already said hello to us.
Yeah, right. Let's see if we can do this one.
Yeah?
So this one's an LG.
Yeah. So if we look in our list of saved remotes, all right, Flipper database. Let's go down to TVs.
That is a long
It is
list.
a very long list. TVs.
Oh, may
Yeah,
I?
go for it.
Okay, so all I did was TVs, and then it's all alphabetized. So way on down, LG. There we go.
And LG is known to make more than one. But if you try the top one,
Yeah. Okay. So the top one is going to be, in general, their. Oh, this is great. So once you enter IR mode, it knows that you want to point this at the device.
Yeah.
So it switches to
maybe
this.
try down mute. Let's see if
yeah.
the audio controls work. There you go.
Okay. Wow. So volume up. Look at that. That's awesome. I mean, no, the crime happening is not awesome.
Yeah.
but the flipper working is awesome. So you can even.
Yeah, we didn't want to watch Crime and Punishment. We want to watch something else. She's had the crabs.
Welcome to People Watch TV. Does this work like much farther than a
It's got a
regular
pretty
remote?
good range.
Yeah.
All right, so it
look at
works
that.
there.
I don't see any of the menu stuff.
So that was the, quote, universal LG, but there are other, if you found out exactly which LG TV it was.
Okay.
Like if we drive down in here, now we've got up, down, left, right controls, all kind of additional menu controls, custom
I mean,
1, 2, 3.
I guess it wouldn't hurt to just
can
try
try
it.
it.
Oh, I see settings.
Might not be that exact model. So yeah, if we back off to the next model down, I'm just gonna try, let's see, input. Oh, wait, was that something?
That is it. You did a thing.
No, there we go.
Look at that.
So we could put our Xbox down here. Now I have to try to make
Oh, you have to individually select.
Yes.
So it's not just the up and down arrows on that. You have to go to the function
Yes.
of arrow up
Yeah.
and arrow down.
So it's a little clunky, but it'll work.
For the multifaceted use of it, that's incredible. One more time, you said Hacker Warehouse, right? What's their website?
Hackerwarehouse.com.
And you are at where, Deviant?
Red Team Alliance and redteamtools.com.
Thank you for, as always, all the
Good to see you,
expertise.
man.
That's
Hell yeah.
awesome. All right, can you put on the game?
Let's watch curling. It's a game that involves
Okay.
being quiet, cold, and cleaning.
Curling is low-key super legit.
Yes.
It's amazing. By now, you know that Squarespace gets your message out to the entire world. You know that they have award-winning designs, but what you may not know is now they got robots working for you. That's right, those two little letters, AI. Drawing on 20 years of experience creating incredible websites, they're now able to put a robot to work for you. Now you might say, well, that's nice and all, but how do I get paid? I'll tell you what, with their payment system, they make it so easy to get onboarded. Have you ever considered the fact that maybe your website is so good you deserve some of that sweet, sweet moolah? You can get it. What happens if the whole world falls in love with your site all at once? They got you covered. They have distributed network hosting so that you will never go down. You can be an overnight sensation, global-wide. Don't take my word for it. Head on over to squarespace.com/rogue. Spell it right, ROGUE, even though I spell it wrong sometimes. Make sure to give it a free try when you fall in love, because you will fall in love. Get 10% off by using that code at checkout. I ended that sentence on the wrong syllable.
This episode is supported in part by viewers like you over at patreon.com/modernrogue, where you can get your name in the credits, or soon you can watch the first pass edit for our previous episode with Deviant.
In this scenario, I'm assuming that, let's say the bartender is giving you permission to change the channel but doesn't have the remote
Right.
on the bar screen.
Yeah, he's like, well, I would love to put the game on, but some sucker stole my remote and we've never found it since. I guess its price is right for you.
In your scenario, they're blowing you off, but in my scenario, they mean it.
Maybe he does mean it in my scenario.